Welcome back to Grumpy Vet Garage. I'm Dino the Grumpy Vet. Today we're doing an oil change on the Mark V Supra. But while I do want this to be a step-by-step oil change video, I also wanted to highlight two different items for this oil change. The first thing being a Billet oil filter cap made by Paradigm Engineering. So, let's see if I can get it in the picture there. Made by Paradigm Engineering. It's a nice piece. Again, the billet cap isn't necessarily an upgrade over the factory composite cap, but it does contain a magnet in the top, and that can assist you in checking the condition of your engine. If you're getting large metal particles on that magnet, it may lead you to maybe you have an engine problem. But so we're going to install this today. And the second thing is a bit more controversial. So the oil recommended in the owner's manual by Toyota and indirectly by BMW is a 0W20 oil. The oil that I have here is a 5W30 oil made by Liquid Moly. When you look in the actual manual, again, the recommendation is 0W20 in the manual, but they also, an acceptable substitute is 0W30 oil. So they're not against running a 30 weight oil, with this being a 5W30. So it's a 30 weight oil. The winter rating is 5. This is thicker than the factory oil. So I am not an expert, but this is my opinion, and it is only an opinion. Thinner weight oils like the 0W20 oil are more susceptible to evaporation and blow-by. All oils are affected by evaporation and blow-by, but thinner oils, more specifically, are more susceptible to it. There are theories that the 0W20 oil recommended by Toyota and BMW may be the culprit for why some Supra owners, Mark V Supra owners, are having oil consumption issues. I haven't seen any oil consumption issues with my 2021 Supra, but the thinner oil may be the reason that some are having this issue. People claim that going to a thicker oil has solved the problem of oil consumption on cars that did lose, a quart of oil over a 3,000 mile period. So it very well may be a remedy for the car. I can't prove or disprove that running a higher viscosity oil is going to solve an oil consumption issue on your car. I just know that thinner oils are more susceptible to evaporation and blow-by. The third factor on why I'm switching to a 5W30 oil is a little bit of research on what individuals that are running higher horsepower numbers on Supras using the stock block, what oils have they used? It seems that a lot of high horsepower builds, guys are switching to 5W40 oil. Now, I don't pretend like that my Supra is a high horsepower Supra. My focus on the car is going to be more of a street car. I still want to make good power, and I feel like that this 5W30 is a good balance between the 0W20, which I feel is too thin, and then 5W40, which I feel is probably good to run and probably could be ran on the street. It's too large a departure for me from the factory recommended spec. Thicker oils are less susceptible to thermal breakdown. High engine loads create high engine temps, and a thicker oil is going to protect your engine better, in my opinion, than the thinner 0W20 would. Also, by going to the 5W, the 5 winter rating, I don't really think that's a concern, considering that I live in South Carolina and my concerns here as far as weather-wise is more extreme heat than it is extreme cold. So I think it, again, provides a good balance for protection on my engine. Those are just my thoughts on why I would go with a 5W30, but you have to make the decision on what you want to run in your Supra or any other B58 powered vehicle on your own. One last thing, As far as the oil filter, I'm just going to go with a standard man oil filter. I don't think it's really any different than the OEM. In fact, I've seen some evidence that this is the OEM filter, just in a different package. But again, it's your car. Do what you think you need to do for your vehicle. But so with all that being said, let's go ahead and start on the oil change. You're going to need to lift your vehicle to gain access to the drain plug underneath the car. I'm going to lift the car high to put it on 4 jack stands. More just so that I can try to get you a good view of the bottom side of the car. You don't need to do that. You just need to be able to get yourself and your oil pan underneath the car. But again, I don't want to be a safety nanny here, but you shouldn't be getting underneath the car unless you have jack stands or some sort of lifting device that can lock out physically. You don't want to rely on just the hydraulic jack and get underneath the car. It wouldn't be smart. But let's go ahead and get this car up so that we can start the oil change. Okay, so we got the car up on 4 jack stands. Again, you don't have to do that, but I did it so that when we get on the bottom, you'll be able to see better what I'm doing. But you're going to need to remove the engine cover. So there's just 4 things that you need to pop up to remove the cover. And it'll slip right by the strut bar, so you don't need to remove that. So you just need to set aside the engine cover. And then additionally, your oil cap, go ahead and just crack it. You don't need to remove it completely because you don't really want to keep the actual oil fill uncovered. So just crack it so that air can flow past it, but I wouldn't actually remove it. So now we're underneath the car. I'm going to try to hold the camera freehand and try to show you this, but it's not real difficult. But you'll see the black cap right here. You're just going to need to, this is like finger holes. So you'll stick your fingers in here and then you'll rotate it. I believe it's counterclockwise, and then it'll pop out. So you can kind of see right here, it's like little tabs that go into these small holes here to locate this and hold it in place. But you remove this, this cover, set it aside, and then with that, you could see the oil drain plug right there. So there's no need to pull the belly pan of the car. They made it real easy to get right to the plug. Back underneath, I got my drain pan, which is a vintage one from when I was in high school. And then I got a 17mm socket, and I got it on a breaker bar. And I'm just going to go ahead and loosen that up. I'm going to sit. Well, my best attempt to not make a mess was attempted, but it did not work out as normal. So changed oil on a bunch of cars over the years. They still throw you for a loop occasionally. So be prepared for that. Either have some rags. I got a sealed garage floor, but a lot of people just use like a cardboard on the floor, and that'd do a good job to soak up any kind of messes that might happen. So just be prepared for that. But it's finishing draining right now. Hopefully you can see that. And the crush washer is still sitting on there, so I'll have to pull that off. You don't want to double that up when you reinstall the plug. So the crush washer is removed. I had to get it off the oil pan. I utilized an angled pick like this one, just to kind of pull it off the drain plug area. You want to make sure that when you're using a pick, you don't scratch up the sealing surface, because you're going to want it to seal good when you put the new crush washer on. So with the new crush washer installed on the drain plug, I'm now going to go ahead and hand thread it into the oil pan. You don't want to use any kind of power tools because you don't want to cross thread the drain plug into the pan. The pan's made of aluminum, so you need to be careful threading it in. So the plug is installed and torqued to 18 foot-pounds. I'm going to go ahead and leave the cover off on the bottom temporarily until we finish putting oil into the engine, because we're going to want to come down and check to make sure we don't have a massive leak. We're not going to really be able to check for an oil leak while the engine's running, because we'll have it back on the ground by then, but we can at least check to make sure we don't have a static leak when we put oil back into the engine. So now moving up top, we're going to need to remove the oil filter housing cap right here, and the filter will be underneath that. but because of its location, it's a little precarious. We're going to put down a towel in case any oil was to leak. So let me go ahead and place that in there. You just want to kind of get it around so that if anything was to leak, it would leak onto the rag. So let me try to. That's pretty good. We shall see. Now, to actually remove the cap, it's actually going to be a 32 millimeter, like this one. So if you have a 32 millimeter, great. If not, I'll leave a link in the description below where you can get a socket like this one. But you just need to reach in there, and it shouldn't be very tight. Again, it's a plastic cap, and it should only be 18 foot-pounds. So snug, I would say, but not tight. All right, now that it's loose, I should be able to reach in there and get it without trying to spill any oil. See how that works out for me? Okay, get me another rag. Be so much easier without the camera in the way, but I want you guys to see what I'm doing here. So swoop in with another rag. And there you go. That is the filter in the filter housing. So I'm going to move the camera so that we can work on the filter. So we have our old oil filter housing up here. This filter goes in with this side towards the actual filter itself and this side towards the filter housing on the engine. But to use our Paradigm oil filter housing cap, we have to move over. This is called a bypass valve. And it has to be removed from the OEM one to move over to the Paradigm one. The way you get this out is you see these little tabs right here. You're just needing to use the edge of a flathead, and be careful, and just turn around and press this in, and it'll rock it out. And then you can move the screwdriver over here and do it again. And then once you get 2 of the 3, it'll come out. But this is your bypass valve that has to be moved over. So I was able to go ahead and get the bypass valve in the housing. What you can do is, let's see if I can show it to you. These little tabs right here, you can use that to press onto on the edges. Just want to be careful about these top tabs here. There's like 4 little tabs up top. You don't want to break those off. So don't press on those, press on the side, and it pops right in. To install the new filter into the housing cap, it's pretty easy. So you're going to need to put the new O-ring that comes in your man filter kit. You're going to want to lube it just a little bit. This is just general purpose oil. I know it's not the oil that would come in. It's not liquid moly or anything like that. It's just general oil. But yeah, you'll get that, and then you'll put that new O-ring in the groove on your new cap, or if you're reusing your factory cap, you would then use a pick tool like this to pull out the old O-ring and then put the new O-ring on your housing. But I got a little extra oil here. But you want to make sure to lube up the seals on your new filter. Put a little oil there, a little oil on the outside here, a little oil here. But as the filter, this is the end that goes into the filter housing, and then this is the end that goes into the cap. So you'll take it and just gently, there's no need to be rough with it here, just pop it on, and you'll hear a little pop right there. And it's bottomed out, and that's it installed. So now all we need to do is take this and thread it into the filter housing. Okay, so the filter housing, of course, with all the O-rings lubricated, you just want to feed it down in there. Again, there's no need to force anything. Just press it down. The O-ring will turn around and put a little bit of resistance where it's actually sliding down. There's a tube on the actual oil filter housing, but then you just get it hand tight. Now that it's hand tight, you want to come in with your 32 millimeter socket and then just run it down. Don't torque it. We'll have to come back with the actual torque wrench and torque it to spec, which is going to be 18 foot-pounds. But you just want to run the filter down flush. So now I have my torque wrench. Again, get it on the housing. Set to 18 foot-pounds. And that's it. Not a whole lot. Really, the tightness of the housing is more just to keep it from backing out, not so much for it to seal. The O-ring is doing all the sealing action that's required. Now it's time to go ahead and add our oil. So again, using the liquid moly 5W30 Special Tech LL, long life. These come in 5-liter jugs, and then they have it marked here 5.28 US quarts. The capacity of the engine is 6.5 liters. So I think in this particular case, we need to get out of our quart mindset and start thinking in terms of liters. So we need to add 6.5 liters. Okay, so that was 5 liters, so we need to add another 1.5 liters. So rather than trying to eyeball 1.5 liters, I went ahead and bought a 1 liter measuring cup that I'm going to use for measuring fluids like this. So I'm going to open up another 5-liter jug, pour a full liter into here, pour it in, and then a half liter and pour it in, and that'll be the total amount we need for our engine. Okay, here's 1 liter. And here's half a liter. So this is the last bit of oil, so this will get us to our 6.5 liters. Back underneath the car one more time, just making sure we don't have some sort of static leak, anything that's coming through. We shouldn't. A copper crush washer is a very effective way of sealing, so I don't expect a problem, but you always want to look. Now that we know that there isn't a problem statically, what we can do now is go ahead and put our cover back on, so it kind of just the slots go in, a little bit of tension, and then rotate it, and it locks in, and there it is, it's in there. One last thing I want to show you about the filter before we move on to putting the car back on the ground and then resetting the oil life is the filter. So the filter normally is just like this, and it has the filter element. What I did, and it's really easy, get you a good sharp utility knife like this one, shameless plug for Cobalt, and then just score all the way around, and you can cut the filter element out and then stretch it out. And I don't know if it's going to come out. You probably could see it. There's like slight little flakes, like one there, one here, just a little bit. This is normal, but you want to get in the habit of checking your filter. If it looks like there's just a ton of glitter in there or large chunks bigger than this, that's a sign that you may have a problem. Now, of course, we got the car on the ground, went ahead and put the engine cover and the oil cap back on. Now we need to reset our oil change. So I'm trying not to blind the screen with my light, but I still want to be able to get you a good view here. So what you're going to want to do is not put your foot on the brake, and you're going to want to touch the actual start stop and hit it 3 times in succession, so rapidly. So that'll put the car into diagnostic mode. And here you can see right there it's talking about, well, now it's saying I need to, yeah, engine oil service requested. So there's a button right over here in the corner. You're going to want to hold that button. Okay. So it says right there, engine oil 8000, reset possible. So we're going to turn around and we're going to hold that again. And now it says reset question mark, as in, do you want to reset it? And the answer is yes. So we're going to hold it again. Now you can see the reset is in progress. Reset successful. So that's really all you need to do. Put it into diagnostic mode. And then using this button, you're going to hold it until it brings up the engine oil. Hold it that you want to reset it. And then it's going to ask you reset question mark. Yes. And hit it again. And then that will reset it. So now the oil is reset. Well, I hope that step-by-step oil change was able to help you with your Supra. If you have any questions about anything I did, go ahead and leave them in the comments. I'll try to answer those questions. I also took a picture of the Paradigm Engineering oil filter cap so that you can see that. I'll insert that right now. Again, not a major upgrade, more of an appearance upgrade. It does look good, but yeah. My thoughts on the 5W30, I know I already mentioned it earlier in the video, but I think the most important thing that a lot of people seem to forget is oil is not going to be a magic bullet. It's more than maintenance. You really need to change your oil. So whether or not you're using 0W20, 5W30, 5W40, there's no magic, oh, now my engine's protected. What's going to protect it is doing regular oil changes. So make sure you stay on top of maintenance on your vehicle so it'll last you a long time. If you like this kind of content, please consider subscribing to my channel. I'm trying to do more work on the Supra. I really want to get back on some Eclipse content and also Silverado content. I also do beer reviews, so if you want to do a beer review with me or you got a suggestion of a beer you want me to review, let me know about that. Also, we have a Grumpy Vet Garage merch store. If you want to support the channel and get some merchandise for yourself, by all means, go to the website that's in the description and get yourself a shirt. But thanks for coming and seeing me in my garage, and until next time, have a good one.